Hi everyone, and welcome to this video on the Aquarius New Moon on the 11th of February 2021. This is a beautiful new moon and it is very in the Aquarian zone. We have the sun, the new moon, we have Mercury retrograde, we have Venus, we have Jupiter, we have Saturn. So much energy in Aquarius in February. And when this new moon occurs, it is the peak. So my moon is in Aquarius. I absolutely love when the new moon is in Aquarius. There's an idealism with Aquarian energy, and this new moon is a really beautiful wishing moon. Thanks to the other aspects of it, it is a time to set intentions and let them manifest. And particularly if you are a moon in Aquarius, because when the new moon is in your moon sign, I often find that it is when we are most in touch with what our soul and our heart wants. So whenever the new moon is in your moon sign, it is a beautiful time to really get in touch with your dreams and your wishes and your idealistic perspective. But for everybody, because this is Aquarian energy, and Aquarian energy so much is that energy, this is a time for you to set those intentions anyway. Because Aquarius rules the 11th house, and that is where our dreams are. So the Aquarian energy is one that is humanitarian. It's very inclusive. I associate Aquarius with the rainbow, which is why I've sort of gone for a rainbow sweater, albeit this is kind of an ugly rainbow sweater because I'm doing that Saturn return and 90s vibes. But when we think of a rainbow, we think of how it is a symbol of hope for many people. There's very few people who look at a rainbow and go, ugh. And the thing that I love about rainbows is that when we're thinking of color palettes and what goes with what, when we think of, fashion choices, a lot of the time people naturally move away from what clashes based on our definition of that. But when we see a rainbow, we can see that all the colors look really beautiful together. Really beautiful blended together. So there's this theme. It's why it is associated with inclusivity. And I think inclusivity itself is a symbol of hope. And so with the new moon in Aquarius, there is a beautiful, hopeful energy of what you do aspire for yourself and for others. Remember, Aquarius is an energy where we don't focus completely on our ideals for the self, on our aspirations for the self and our aspirations for our own future. There is always the feeling of everybody else. How is this going to work out for everybody else? Do no harm. Go after your dreams, provided you're not, stepping on anybody, because you don't have to. That corporate ideal of working your way to the top by stepping on other people is really, it's not really based on any kind of fact. We're not in competition with each other anymore. The world is so, there's so much abundant resources that it's a lot of the time what goes on with you spiritually is how you get to where you want to go. It's not really about the lower vibes of jealousy and competition, because with the Aquarian energy, it's about uniting, it's about unity. And so with this energy, there is a beautiful essence of inclusivity, of humanitarianism and idealism. But of course, there is also a tension in the sky with Uranus and Saturn, which are gearing up to square exactly. And that's a big theme for this year. And so Uranus is the Aquarian ruler, and it's squaring off with its sign. So it's an unusual event. It's an unusual event for the ruling planet to start going head to head with its own sign, because Uranus and Taurus isn't really that comfortable. And Taurus is, of course, what we value on a monetary sense, on a financial sense, on what gives us worth, how we justify our own worth, how we justify our own value. And it's coming up against the wider collective. It's coming up some tough lessons in how we do treat other people, how we treat society, how we treat people that are different from us. And it's asking you, what do you value for yourself? And is it out of alignment with what you value for society? Because you are your own example setter. And with this energy going on in the background, there is a big think going on for a lot of people. How do my actions align with what I want for the world? But the beautiful part of this new moon, the really beautiful part, and I love this so much, is the fact that Venus is conjunct Jupiter. This new moon is occurring just a couple of hours after that. and it's a beautiful romantic energy. It's usually the most beautiful romantic energy of the year. And we didn't have this in 2020, and you probably noticed. We didn't have this in 2020. We didn't have that social, idealistic, joyous energy. And it's now happening in Aquarius, which is an interesting time to experience this, considering a lot of countries, a lot of cities are in lockdown, are in a period of social distancing. But this is a beautiful unifying energy. So I feel because of the aspects between Mercury as well and the true node, even though Mercury is in retrograde and has trined the true node, I think it trined it back on Inauguration Day, or the give or take a day or two, I'm not exactly sure, but this energy is one of good news, one of joyous news, and Mercury is going to conjunct Jupiter as well, bringing some positive news. I feel that there could be some kind of news in the air for a lot of us about how socializing is going to look this year, and it could be good, hopefully, idealism here. But on a personal level for everyone, the Venus-Jupiter conjunction is one of real love. It's a beautiful new moon to attract love if that's what you want. Of course, with the Aquarius energy, it's a beautiful time to have that detached perspective. And detachment is not meaning that you don't care. Detachment is meaning that you're okay without it because you already have it. Detachment is feeling like you already have it. So if you're looking to attract love, if you're looking to attract a soulmate or a partner, or you're looking to attract money, for example, because Venus is money, or you're looking to attract a different aesthetic for yourself, whatever it is that is ringing true to your heart. If you're looking to attract any of those things, this is a beautiful new moon to do it, but to keep that feeling of already having it within you, knowing that it's your birthright, knowing that it's on its way to you, and so connecting with that feeling, and that helps you detach. It's the feeling of where is it that is not detachment. Detachment can be quite healthy. It is about observing your emotions with no judgment. I don't know about you, but since the full moon in Leo, because Leo rules the heart space, and it may just be because it was conjunct my Chiron, but that full moon in Leo really activated a lot of people's heart chakras. And so you could have been experiencing chest pain, palpitations, fear. You could have been experiencing moments of euphoria or moments of sadness at past events. If that's you, your heart chakra being activated, being opened up a little bit is a necessary thing. And that's not to negate any medical advice, because my heart chakra was opening so strongly, I had to get a lung scan, a chest x-ray, because I was so confused at what this pain was, and there was nothing there. So I did go to a Reiki healer, and it is a heart chakra thing. So for a lot of people, I think that full moon really activated it, particularly if you are born in 1991, because this will have been conjunct your Chiron in the latter half of 1991. So that may apply to you. You may also have your Chiron connected to this depending on your particular chart, but I digress. What I'm saying is that this new moon is a beautiful time to set intentions based on a more open and a more pure heart chakra, a more pure love energy, because you've worked through a few things and you've opened up to a few things, and you may feel like your relationship to mankind itself is changing. And so this Venus-Jupiter conjunction is a time of social connections, especially in Aquarius, but it is a time for your dreams to come true. Venus and Jupiter are the great benefics. They're two of the favorite planets because they grant us our wishes and they grant us our heart's joy, what we want for ourselves in an abundance, and particularly what abundance means for you, because it is different. Some people think abundance is a lottery win. Some people think it is having 6 kids. It's different for everybody. If it wasn't different, we would run into trouble, because people are so very diverse and so very different that the Aquarian energy understands that. And so if you tap into that, you understand that what you're going for, what you're looking for in this life is likely to be yours, because you're not really in competition. The more we understand diversity and how different people are and how different people want different things and how that's okay, the more we feel like we can actually connect to our own dreams and aspirations, because we're not obsessed with everybody else wanting the same thing or everybody else how they're doing, particularly if you're comparing yourself to people who have really beautiful aspects to Jupiter in their chart at the moment, transits. a lot of the time you can compare yourself to someone who's in a completely different astrological point of view. You know, the new moon in Aquarius, the Aquarius moon is actually the astrologer's moon. That's why I bet there's so many people on here who have Aquarius moon as well, because it is the astrologer's moon. It naturally gravitates towards astrology and the occult and science and things like that. So with that moon in mind, this is a time to investigate your own ideology and your own idealistic perspectives, the things that you want for yourself, and to understand that not everybody wants them. You're not in competition with anybody else. Everybody is in their own lane, going through their own astrological cycles. And the more you understand your cycles, the more you understand how you're manifesting, what you're achieving, and why you're at a certain point and other people are at different points. You know, everyone's on their own cycle here. Nobody's actually in competition. Everyone's on their own cycle. Even if you're born the same day, you're on a different cycle. So with that in mind, this new moon is a beautiful time to set intentions for your wishes, your dreams, especially if they're related to love, money, sociology, humanitarianism, diversity. You know, you want to be part of a bigger conversation about what it will take to get everybody to a better place. And obviously there is the idealistic perspective of this. There's also a dark side to Aquarian energy, of course, with Mercury retrograde there. It can expose within people their prejudicial energies. You know, we've seen a few people in the news saying really daft, backward things. I know that in Japan there was a man, and I think he might have been the prime minister. I'm not so sure, he once was, but he made this really sexist comment about how women take up too long in meeting rooms because they're always competing with each other. And I think if you're in a position of power and you're in charge of a lot of different, the word is escaping me, but you're in charge of so many people's fate. You're in charge of how people are going to be affected. You know, you're in charge of policies and how people are going to experience those policies. I think having longer conversations is a good thing. I think anybody that wants to rush meetings that have to do with people that they're governing, it's a very big red flag. And if you can't see it that way, if you think that it's because women take too long, that's how your prejudice is getting in the way of social policy and bettering your society. You know, prejudice really gets in the way of that. And so with Mercury retrograde there, we can see a lot of people bringing these things up. And as much as people are saying stuff that's offensive, it's good to know. It's better to get it above so it can be discussed rather than keep it below, because it's when it's below and when it's underhand that a lot of the time it can do real damage. And you know, it's important to understand that having things out in the open, having things open to discussion, and having public knowledge is a good thing. Especially with Mercury trine the true node, it's an important time to lean into the information. And Mercury is moving away, the true node is moving away from Neptune, which has created this fog. And so sometimes it can feel a little bit disheartening to hear people say things like this. But at the same time, it's important to make sure that that is addressed. That's a big point of Aquarian energy. They prefer the truth. They prefer to fight for justice and know what they're fighting for and know what they're fighting against. So with the beautiful idealistic energy and the optimism of Venus conjunct Jupiter, it is important to remember that there are some triggering and tough conversations going on below. But with the Saturn-Uranus square, one of the things that I would like to make mention of is, because they're happening in fixed energies, is remain open-minded, remain flexible, remain cautiously optimistic about the changes that you want to make in your life and the changes that you want to see in your own personal experience. Because this energy, while it can feel a little bit challenging and it will be a big point of the year for you, it's about understanding how you get from A to B and understanding that not everything will make sense. When there's Aquarian energy, sometimes the way we get to the future and the way we experience the future is very different. And a lot of the time, if we knew what we were going to experience, we would do things differently, and that would in turn change the path. A lot of people are going to find this year that the way things turn out for them, particularly in matters of career, you know, your job, your social standing, because of the Saturn aspect to this, a lot of people are going to find that that turns out quite differently. A lot of people are actually realigning with purposes that are a little bit different to what they anticipated in the last few years. In fact, when Saturn was in Capricorn, you could have been really trying to get to a certain goal. And then maybe when it moved into Aquarius, you realized, I don't really want this anymore. I really want something different. And that's okay. That's what Uranus does. It shakes up your perspective. Uranus connecting with Saturn. Who's going to win out here? Uranus. Uranus is going to shake things up. It's going to change our perspectives, particularly about what we value. And so I have ranted quite a long time about this new moon. If you want to know what it means for your zodiac sign, the timestamps are listed below. We will start with Aquarius and we'll move all the way down to Pisces. So, sorry, all the way down to Capricorn. I'm just going to blame every hiccup on Mercury retrograde while I can, as if I wasn't experiencing them before. So, timestamps are listed below and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye. Okay, Aquarius, so this is your new moon, and this is a lot of energy for you, situated in the first house. And this is with so much conjunct energy, with so much coming at you directly. Your focus is you. Your focus is on the essence of who you are. And for a lot of you, 2021 is a time to welcome in the new you, welcome in your new perspectives, your new ideas, your new image, your new soul. And the square, the tension for you, Aquarius, is how you bring the new you forward while figuring out some things about the past, in particular your family, where you come from, and what has shaped you. And so for a lot of you, you're birthing a new age for yourself, a new way of being, a new way of stepping into your own power and stepping away from your past definitions of yourself and what has shaped you to be the person you are. It's a beautiful time to acknowledge and show gratitude for the gifts you've inherited through your bloodline and through your experiences, but also to decide that this next chapter is something that you want to shape for you. You want to shape your own belief system. You want to shape your own conscious decisions rather than being ruled by a subconscious that maybe stunts you from time to time. So this is a beautiful new moon to set any intentions about who you want to be, how you want to look, how you want to behave, how you want to go forward, and how you want to see yourself, because how you see yourself is what matters, isn't it? What you see when you look in the mirror, what you see when you, how you feel. I think a lot of the time we have a very strong sense of who we are when we see pictures of ourselves that we didn't take. You know, if it's a bad picture, people can be very hard on themselves. If it's a good picture, people can approve of themselves, and that's bad either way, because it's about who you are underneath, and also how you feel about yourself in your weaker moments, in the moments where you don't feel your best. Having that core sense of self and self-acceptance is important. I think people are taught from a very young age in the schooling system and the education system, not necessarily intentionally, but I think people are taught to pinpoint their problems, to be perfect, to be, you know, to put a lot of focus on yourself, to have a lot of self-awareness of your flaws, but not necessarily to have too much of an understanding of your own essence, which is something Aquarius does really beautifully actually, is that you can really see your own essence, but you see it as a contributing factor. For you, we had the Queen of Pentacles, which is interesting. It's about seeing your worth and seeing your value and seeing your beauty, seeing, the sun, letting yourself grow. And underneath we have, of course, the star. So I'm going to keep that. For you, Aquarius, you are growing into who you want to be. Your aspirations for yourself are starting to come true. For a lot of you, with the sun and the star, that celestial luck that is blessing you this year is reaching a very potent point in February. You may find around this new moon or the 2 weeks that follow certain wishes that you've really wanted do manifest. They do come into your way of being. Things are in flow, but they're only in flow so much as you can see the essence of who you are and see your worth. It's interesting to have the Queen of Pentacles, because that would be the Taurus energy that is squaring against you, your past. The sun, because in the traditional tarot it has a little boy riding a horse, can also be seen as your childhood, what has shaped you, your inner child, your relationship with your inner child, and really shedding some warmth and shedding some light upon that energy in order for you to grow, in order for you to be who you want to be. The sun is essential to growth. When we think about it, flowers, trees, they need the sun to grow, and so they need the light to grow. For you, the sun being in your sign is shining a light on yourself so that you can grow. And you know that sunlight is connecting to many other planets in your sign at different points throughout your season. And so you're growing in so many different areas. You're growing in the way that you love, in the way that you think, in the way that you communicate, in the way that you create, in the way that you learn, in the way that you expand. You're having your light shone in so many different areas. And so as certain different points of your life start picking up in a magnificent way, don't doubt that you're worthy of this. You've done a lot of growth over the last few years internally, and now you're in that process of blossoming, of taking shape, of taking, my battery sign just came up, of taking, you know, growing into who you want to be, growing into who you are, growing into who you were meant to be. You know, with Saturn in the process, there's a lot of meaning behind this. There's a lot of purpose behind this, behind the scenes. You know, there's a lot of things coming up behind you that you're not necessarily aware of, that you experienced with Capricorn season. And Pluto is still there, giving you this transformation inwardly, but that now you're starting to see on the outward. And you're really blessed at this time. A lot of astrologers believe that any planet in the first house is lucky. So you have, what, 6 in them? There hasn't been that many since the 60s. I think in the 60s there was about 7. But you have so many energies going around you, focusing on you, examining yourself. And so with that being said, although there's a light being shone and it's helping you grow, it might feel a bit icky at times. You might be seeing yourself in high definition, and you might be seeing yourself in a very sharp focus, and some of that can be uncomfortable. It is like getting that bad angle of yourself in a photograph. But the thing about photography is that it never catches how fluid we are and how a lot of the beauty is actually in the movement. And so you're moving at the moment, and you're in a really beautiful space, and you're likely really your most beautiful at the moment as well with Venus. You're likely your most attractive. You're likely your most effervescent. You're just kind of effervescent. Mercury retrograde. I'm going to blame every speech issue on Mercury retrograde. I suggest you join me because it really gives you a license to be human and make mistakes, even on camera, where you're supposed to edit them out. But even just looking at the celestial bodies, the sun in Aquarius, the moon in Aquarius, the Mercury in Aquarius, albeit in retrograde, the Venus in Aquarius, the Jupiter in Aquarius, the Saturn in Aquarius, it's all shaped up to help you grow, help you expand, and help you manifest. This is a beautiful new moon to cast a wish, because it actually will come true. That is something that you can guarantee. It will come true, because at this point you're your most authentic self. And when you are your most authentic, which you simply cannot help whenever there's so much energy in your first house, you simply cannot miss what is meant for you. And you can attract what it is that is true to your heart. So that's all I have for you, Aquarius. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Pisces, welcome to your new moon in Aquarius segment. So Pisces, there is a lot going on behind the scenes for you at the moment. There's a lot going on for you internally that other people simply can't see unless you give them that information, unless you communicate that. But I feel with Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, you don't necessarily want to. There's a privacy with you at the moment. There is a deep healing going on in your heart that is quite mysterious. You are quite mysterious. You're quite behind the scenes yourself at the moment. Even with the sun illuminating your 12th house, there's a lot of shadow work going on for you at the moment. There's a lot of inner healing, perhaps deep meditations, working through your subconscious fears through dreaming. There's maybe lucid dreaming. There's maybe any kind of energy work that supports healing, be it therapy, be it tarot reading, anything that can really help you tap into your own subconscious mind. You have more awareness now than you've probably ever have, unless you were alive in the 60s, because there was a lot of Aquarian energy then. You're really getting an insight into your soul, and you're also getting a lot of insight into some of the gunk that is lingering there, that is affecting how you operate in your day-to-day life, in your day-to-day reality. And so that can be quite tricky whenever your old fears come up, but it is shining a light on the past so that it doesn't prevent you from moving forward, especially in the second half of the month. Okay, so at the moment there is a lot of inward shadow work, figuring out why you feel a certain way, noticing that certain things still bother you even after years. And all you have to do with this new moon is ask for what you want and let the universe take the reins. That's all. You just have to ask. You don't have to do anything. You just have to ask. Let the behind the scenes do its thing. And in the meantime, you focus on doing some shadow work, because it's actually very beautiful. Okay, and underneath we have strength. So the reason I say it's really very beautiful, Pisces, is because you are the sign that is associated with the 12th house. And so to have a lot of transits there for you is actually more comfortable than it would be, for example, a Leo. You know, it's more comfortable for you to have so much going on there behind you. And at times it can also feel very uncomfortable and very upsetting, because you're letting go of the old way of being, and that's challenging. But you, Pisces, always know that whenever things are stormiest, you can go deeper underwater and find peace there. A lot of Pisceans can find peace in the dark night of the soul for them, if that's where you are. But for most of the Pisceans, it's about going underneath into your emotions and saying, a little bit of unraveling and figuring out why you feel a certain way and how much you've actually been carrying. You're a very sensitive sign, and not only can you carry your stuff, you can carry the stuff of those around you. And so as you start to let that energy out of your body, out of your cells, out of your heart, out of your soul, out of your energy fields, your chakras, you can feel a sense of release and this sense of empowerment. It's a beautiful time to do Reiki, I have to say, because the 12th house is where we keep stuff built up. It's where we shove everything into this closet or wardrobe or whatever you have and just leave it in there and not want to touch it again. And so opening it up and seeing that you still have this thing here, you still have this feeling here, and you've held on to this longer than you thought, and it's all been taking up space in your own personal inner environment. It's beautiful to let it go, because then you have this clean slate, this clarity as you move into your season. With the 3 of Wands and the 10 of Cups, if happiness is on the horizon, just keep going. As much as there is so much energy in the 12th house, we are moving towards your season, and there seems to be a lot, if you can see here, there's a lot of happiness, there's a lot of rainbow energy. I know that I'm Pisces rising, I'm wearing a rainbow jumper at the moment. The rainbow in this is that there's hope, and the rainbow is so interesting because it only comes after the rain. And so this is kind of a rainy season for you. It's about cleansing, it's about letting things out. But just on the horizon there is something that gives your heart a lot of satisfaction. Remember, Venus is exalted in your sign, and that is coming up, and it's going to conjunct the sun, and that's beautiful. That's a beautiful time for you to feel true love, true connection, true energy. And you know, if you're not working on that gunk that you have inside, if you're not releasing over time, you get blocked and you stop connecting, and then that pulls you away from what it is you truly want, Pisces, which is connection. So with strength underneath, be patient with yourself, be calm. Remember that she's tamed the lion through grace, through poise, and through that patience, and that understanding that even though things seem stormy and tumultuous, there lies within that energy a calmness, even in the most ferocious of lions. So It could also signal that you're dealing with a Leo person, sun, moon, or rising, and you might have to really love them a lot to get their true essence at the moment, because with so much going on behind the scenes, people are dying to know what's going on with you, but you have a very magical ability to pull out what's going on with them. So there could be some very interesting conversations and insights that are the type of conversations that I think Pisces loves the most. So I'll talk to you soon, Pisces. Bye. Hi Aries, welcome to your segment on the new moon in Aquarius. So Aries, there's a big focus around this new moon of your wishes and your ideals and your aspirations, and I get that. A lot of you have a goal, you have something that you really want to achieve, something that you're very excited about, and possibly also a little bit in your head about. You're just craving social connection at this time. So if you're in an environment where that's really tricky, I sympathize with you quite a lot on this. If you're in a place where you have this lit up 11th house of social connections and you want to be around people and you want to achieve things, it's quite a tricky time if you're in a place where that's not possible at the moment. But there's always a way around things in the 11th house. That's why the internet was invented there. But this is making you crave social connection and crave certain aspirations. And you know, with Saturn there, it could go the other way depending on what it's hitting in your chart. Maybe you want to take a step back. But this new moon is asking you how you react, how you relate, and how you re-energize yourself socially. You want to help. You also want to release a lot of compassion into the world. But at the moment for your chart, what I will say, Aries, is you also need that compassion. You need your own compassion, and you really don't want to be judged at the moment. Four of Pentacles. A lot of you are finding with this new moon, particularly as I was discussing in the opening, that since the full moon in Leo has passed, your heart chakra is likely going through an opening at the moment, and some of you might find that painful. Sometimes with Aries, you find it really hard to open up, and people can misread that in many forms, but it's actually because your heart is feeling quite sensitive at the moment. It's feeling quite a change, an opening as it were. And you're trying with this new moon to invite in some new energy. Remember, Aquarius rules the future, okay? Beautiful, the World card. And underneath we have the Six of Pentacles. Yes, very compassionate. You're very giving. Remember to receive it as well, because if you don't receive it and you're just giving it out, it will go out of balance. There are people in your life who really support you and really want to help you, and they're the people that you should not be shutting off from at the moment. Connect, keep those connections, keep that energy alive, keep it stimulated. With the World card, there's this beautiful new beginning for you. And the World card I associate with Saturn in the tarot. And it is a time for you to really take heed of the lessons that you have learned and the lessons that you continue to learn, and what direction you're taking this journey, where this new journey is leading to you. With the World card, this new moon is a time to really reflect, especially the day before the new moon, on what you've achieved, what you have created for yourself in the past year, which thanks to so much in Capricorn, but mostly thanks to you. Despite the challenges, you've accomplished a lot more than you're realizing. And this new moon is, yes, it's about creating something new for yourself, creating a new aspiration, making a wish list, making some manifestations, yes. But you also have to be thankful for what you've learned and what you've accomplished yourself. As I say, Aries, you're really compassionate at the moment, even with the Six of Pentacles. You're really wanting to share, to take care of other people, to give, to relate, to form friendships, to forge relationships, to manifest great achievements for yourself. But you have achieved great things for yourself, even if you feel like you haven't. And so with these energies, don't be afraid of the new. Don't be afraid of the change that's coming in. Don't be afraid of the new adventure, especially if it's an adventure of the heart, an adventure based in connection. You don't need to protect yourself so much. And yes, in a way you have to protect yourself, but because of that full moon in Leo, one thing I did learn that really sticks with me, as so many people are going through a heart chakra awakening, one thing I did learn is that those moments where we close our heart chakra, when we're trying to protect ourselves, we actually inadvertently lock in a bit of pain, and then nothing else gets in, and we're just carrying this pain thinking we're protecting ourselves when really we need to let it out. And so for a lot of you, I think with this new moon in the 11th house, a commitment to some kind of spiritual practice or some kind of group therapy or some kind of manifestation process where you can let go of certain fears and really feel protected and feel safe and feel connected. Connection is key to that. Opening up to your friends, opening up to your spouse, your lover, your family. Trying to keep that heart chakra open and experiencing an adventure of the heart at the same time, you know? I think for a lot of you, Aries, you have to be willing to let go a little bit of how you think things should turn out, because with the clash between the Aquarius and the Taurus energy, holding on to this way of doing things in this particular process can sometimes stifle you from your inventive and your creative and your genius energy. So enjoy the new ideas that come to you around this time and be open to them, and be open to your heart. Be open to sharing a little bit of what you've been carrying inside so that you can let it go and begin this very exciting new chapter. That's all I have for you, Aries. Have a wonderful new moon. Take care. Hi, Taurus. Welcome to your new moon in Aquarius segment. So Taurus, this is a new moon of success. Yes. Career success, how you define success. This is your time to assert that definition into the world, to put it out to the universe, what it will be, what it looks like when you are successful, but to be open to how you get there. We do not need a plan at this time, we just need the idea. Aquarius is all about ideas. It's not about let's do this, 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 and this. And because it's clashing with your sign, with Uranus in your sign, forcing you to change, forcing you to adapt, forcing you to rebel against the old, there's so much emphasis on, at the moment, Taurus, on who you are in the public versus who you are truly. And if they're out of alignment, you can get mixed results. So with this new moon, there's a very interesting time for you to define exactly what that will look like. Who do you look up to? What is your plan? Why is it your plan? What is it you would like your reputation to be, and what legacy would you like to leave behind? There's some of the notes that I've made for you. Your life's work, even if you're in a small pond. You don't have to be famous to enjoy so much in the 10th house, although a lot of Taurus rising could unexpectedly shoot to internet fame. Okay, 5 of Swords, interesting energy. Bit of a battlefield for you navigating the fixed signs, I know. Can feel quite challenging. You also have Chiron there in your wounded healer, in your 12th house of the subconscious. So there's always in the background with you a bit of healing going on. Even if it's not obvious, there's always a little bit of healing inner battles, especially whenever it comes into friction with the astrology. But interestingly this week, 6 of Cups. Interestingly this week, in the background, Chiron is actually receiving quite a loving dynamic with Saturn. And Saturn is in your career sector, your public identity. And so there's some inner wounds that are leading to your public identity changing somewhat. Underneath we have the moon. So this is a very important new moon for you for sure, in terms of shining a light on how you do view yourself and how you would like others to view you. With the 5 of Swords and the 6 of Cups, some of you have past relationships, past experiences that are in some way holding you back. For a lot of you, I feel that this could be grief. I feel like this could be the loss of someone or something in your past that at the moment, with so much in the 10th house, you're finding it almost, and this can be a past relationship, some of you could be shying away from success because you don't feel worthy. For a lot of people, when I see the Five of Swords, I often think it's imposter syndrome. And remember in the intro, we were talking about how Aquarius energy understands that you're not in competition with anybody else. Aquarius energy understands that it's better to work as a team, to work as a collective, to work as a group. And with the 10th house, with so much riding on you and your success in your career life, there being such fundamental changes there. You're being asked where you're past, because in the astrological wheel, the 10th house is opposite the 4th. You know, it's the Cancerian versus Capricorn energy, the public image versus the private. And so for a lot of you, there's some inner turmoil, I think, going on in your private life that is possibly troubling in how you go about manifesting your career success. I want to say this is a fantastic new moon for you, particularly because Venus is your ruler and it's conjunct Jupiter, and it's there in your career sector, your successful sector. So what I want to say for you, Taurus, especially Taurus rising, is that this is a beautiful new moon to set intentions for your public image, for your career success, and again, your definition of success in any regard. But your private life doesn't have to suffer. You can make that a clear intention. Success does not have to take away your private security. And the reason you may think it does or fear it does is because, or you may feel unworthy about it, is because of societal standards, patriarchal ideas, how your narrative has been shaped by particularly your parents. And it's time to let some of that go. It's time to be open with that Saturn-Uranus conjunction to a little bit of a shift, a little bit of a shake-up, and a little bit of an insight into why your idea of success hasn't actually formulated itself into the manifestation. Because it possibly wasn't correct. It possibly wasn't in alignment with who you were. So with this new moon, with the Five of Swords, the Six of Cups, and the moon, I think for you, Taurus, it's a beautiful new moon to set those intentions. It's a fantastic new moon to see those intentions manifest. But it's also a new moon to be open. And that's something that Taurus can struggle with infamously. Being open to change, being open to that difference. With the Five of Swords and the Six of Cups, if you can avoid letting your past experiences shape your definition of success, I think you'll have a much easier ride. But I do feel like there is a little bit of grief or a little bit of past, the essence of a past experience where you felt challenged or in battle. It's almost like you feel in some area of your life, Taurus, that you're doing battle all the time, or you're really fighting for something. And it's saying to you with this new moon that focus on your definition of success, how it would feel, how it would look for you, and don't focus on what other people are doing or what other people are achieving. There will not be another Aquarius stellium like this likely in your lifetime. And so this is your moment to be your own hero. Be your own hero. Be the person that you look up to the most. Or maybe in some regards, if you look up to someone in the public eye, they might have a fall from grace that makes you redefine who it is that you look up to and who it is that you want to be. And it's much better to choose yourself. Okay? So that is what I have for you, Taurus. Go get your goals. You can do it. And stay in your own lane. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing, because chances are they're not doing half as much as you are, and they don't have the platform that you currently do at the moment. Talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Gemini, welcome to your segment on the new moon in Aquarius, which is happening in your sector of the higher self, higher information, higher learning. It is where we go for meaning. It's your opposite house. Finding the meaning in your actions, the meaning in your circumstances, and the meaning of why you do that thing that you do that just seems to evade you. And you've been looking at it, you've been looking for answers a little bit closer up, Now is a bit of an elevated state. It's a time for you to really get to grips with your higher perspective and connect to your higher self and take some wisdom from you rather than from anybody else. Although it is a beautiful time to find a mentor or connect with a philosopher that resonates with you, it is also a time to receive those higher answers from yourself and go from there. With so much in the 9th house, you're finding it very hard to evade the meanings. What does it all mean? You find out in February, especially around this new moon. So if you're going to set an intention this new moon, it's in the area of travel. It's in the area of higher self, higher thought, higher purpose, higher learning. And so with all those in mind, what would you like to take from there, and what would you like to see develop for you in the next 6 months? Be it a vacation, be it being a more enlightened, more self-aware version of yourself, be it having a different outlook on life, a different outlook on yourself and your relationships, your business, the Emperor. With the Emperor, there is a leadership quality to this, and with so much happening in Aquarius before we actually move into your sector of career, this is a time to really make sure that in that process of developing the ideal that you want, the idea that you want, the business opportunity, something tangible, you realize, Gemini, in this season, how much you're blocking that from yourself. Now, that's not necessarily an intentional thing, but what I can see here is a little bit of it cleaning up. We're going towards your career season, your success season, which is Pisces season, with the Emperor here, but with the 7 of Pentacles and the 2 of Swords, something isn't growing, and it's because of a mental block. It's because something in your head, something in your mind, something in your subconscious is actually stopping a relationship from developing, a relationship from going to a certain level. It's stopping your career moving to a certain level. It's stopping your manifestation of a job or whatever this is. There's something you're trying to manifest, but this season is getting you more in touch with your higher self to figure out what that block is. And it's also potentially affecting your sleep. That's interesting. You navigate Aquarius season so very well that if something seems to be kind of stifled, you can bet that it's significant, because you usually can just sort of ride this one out. But at the moment, I feel that it is probably linked a lot to the clashes between your higher self and your subconscious mind. With Taurus, Uranus and Taurus is shaking up your inner world, your behind the scenes. There's something behind the scenes that's just stopping this manifestation of great success, of great wealth, and you might think that it's circumstantial. It's actually a lot to do with who you are and what you believe. So there is a little bit of a belief system. There's some idea that I think you should sit with and figuring out why you think it and counteract it with an opposing point of view. Connecting to your higher self this season, Gemini, is going to be very fruitful for you. Very fruitful, especially as we move towards Pisces season. If you can use this energy to lean into the best version of yourself, where you can see the philosophy, the Hakuna Matata kind of aspect, really understanding what it is that you want to believe, you know, your idealistic self before it was broken by a circumstance, your hopes and ideals before they were squashed by a failure in the past or something like that. I do feel like there is a need to tap into that higher self and showing up as that person, you know, doing a higher self meditation, connecting to who you really should be. And your higher self supposedly protects you on a spiritual plane, and for that reason this is a beautiful month to connect to your higher self in order to protect yourself, in order to work with your energies, in order to bring yourself to the next level, because a lot of Geminis are going through a process now of really leveling up in business, bringing wisdom. This is a wonderful new moon to start a course of higher learning, to read an inspirational book, to find a mentor, especially with the Emperor there. Find a mentor in business or career, or someone who has speciality knowledge in the subject that you're looking to dive into. And that's kind of what unlocks your block, I think, because there is something, and it's a perspective shift that needs to occur in order for you to get into that really strong boss energy, Gemini. Okay, so that is what I have for you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Cancer, welcome to your New Moon in Aquarius segment. So Cancer, for you, there is a lot of energy transitioning in your 8th house, which is where we go to transform. So with the energy being there, there is a sense of new and a sense of letting go, a sense of endings and beginnings. It's very much to do with the life and death cycle, and that's not to say there's going to be a literal death. The 8th house is more metaphorical, it's figurative death, it's letting go of what no longer serves us, particularly in our relations with others, our relations with other people's money, and the different contractual obligations and duties that we have and that we pick up in this lifetime. For some of you, there are things you would like to let go, perhaps contracts, perhaps subscriptions, perhaps you would like to let go of a certain obligation in your life that is holding you down or wearing you thin. So while it is a new moon, there is a presence with you of what you can begin anew by letting something else go. So there is that paradox involved, but you may receive in the next 2 weeks some kind of transformational gift. So it could be a prompt, it could be a literal gift, it could be inheritance, for example. That's at its most, you know, the 8th house has a lot to do with death and money, and so we often think of it with inheritance, but obviously for everybody that's not the case. But for you, there is some kind of gift in a change in your life, and how you work with change, how you go along with the ebb and flow. And also a big conversation in your head about what you want to leave behind in this lifetime, what you would like to leave behind you in terms of your legacy. You know, what do you want people to think about when you're not there anymore? And although that sounds kind of morbid and mundane, you can think about it in terms of what people say when you leave the room. How do you want to leave other people feeling? Is a big idea to consider. You know, what do you think? Do you think you go into a room and leave it better than it was before? Do you think when you have conversations and relationships with people, you leave them feeling better than they did before? 7 of Pentacles. The 8th house is the kind of growth that can feel uncomfortable but also feels very meaningful and impactful, and it's the type of growth you remember. It's the type of change to your person, the type of change to your life that you can be grateful for many years later, even if you feel like there's some challenges at the moment. 8th house transits can be quite challenging, but they're also incredibly rewarding. You have Saturn transiting your 8th house, and I remember that myself. I've experienced that, and it is a time when change is almost serendipitous. The changes that happen to you during this time just sort of feel meant to be part of a bigger picture. And this new moon is a beautiful time to set an intention of how you cope with change and the type of change you'd like to invite in, and also the type of emotional change you'd like to bring in terms of your intimate life and your connections with other people, particularly Cancer if you're dealing with an air sign, an Aquarius, Libra or Gemini. But let's look at your cards. We have the 7 of Pentacles, the 9 of Wands and the Devil. The 8th house can also rule lust, it can rule jealousy, obsession. And so for a lot of you, there's some inner work going on with this new moon of where you feel kind of addicted or stuck in some kind of relationship or way of thinking or way of behaving, where there's something quite toxic. In the 8th house, obviously, we can see the more primal parts of our nature and whether or not they're serving us or whether or not we're ignoring, you know, things that can be in our shadow side as well can be in the 8th house, and that's where we go to transform them, to transcend them. And I think for a lot of you, you're working on overcoming some kind of addiction or some kind of toxic habit or toxic energy that is draining you somewhat, that's what you need to let go of. So whatever is let go around this new moon, in order for you to usher in the new and the new changes and the new transformations, it's important. It is part of your destiny. It is part of your life. As I said, Saturn transiting the 8th is kind of to do with, well, not even kind of. I'm not going to minimalize it. It is to do with change. It is to do with transformation and death of the ego, transcending the ego. And the ego is what keeps us stuck. Sometimes it keeps us safe. Sometimes it keeps us stuck. And it's about recognizing the difference. Where in your life would you like to make some real change? You know, where in your life would you like to make some important changes, particularly in your relationship dynamics, where you could choose yourself a little bit more and heal some need to please others? Maybe heal the need to be everything to someone else. Maybe heal the need to fix others. There's a very beautiful opening for you in order to usher in some new energy and let go of some stagnant energy, let go of some stuff that's not working, that you are keeping in your heart, in your mind, in your space, because it's familiar. Not all that is familiar is comforting. And when you start to find comfort in things in your life that are toxic or unhealthy, that's when you really know you're due a change. Don't get comfortable in something that's toxic for you. Allow this new moon to usher in the change that you need in order to transcend the ego. So that is what I have for you, Cancer. Have a beautiful new moon, and I'll see you soon. Hi Leo, welcome to your new moon in Aquarius segment. Leo, there's so much in the sky stacked up opposite you. And so there is a huge energy focus on the other, on your partnership life. And with such an activity going on there, your relationships become center focus, for better, for worse. But I think because of Venus and Jupiter, it's for better, provided your career is not getting in the way of everything, and provided your ego and your reputation and the success you want to achieve isn't getting in the way of everything either. But this is beautiful because this new moon is happening in your partnership zone, your coupling up sector, your marriage sector, along with Venus and Jupiter, which is the luckiest romantic aspect of the year. And so to have it in your partnership sector is saying, Leo, if you'd like to manifest love, if you'd like to manifest someone who loves the way you do, this is the time. If you would like to call in a new relationship, this is it. If you would like to improve your relationship, this is also it. But do notice in this season, with so much in your partnership sector, if your partnerships are not working, they're probably not for you, you know, provided you're not overlooking some obvious details. What is common with Saturn transiting the 7th is that you learn a few tough relationships in love, but you also are less able to hold on. Holding on to something that's not working feels like a struggle. And fixed signs love to do that dance. They love to hold on. They love to do the on and off relationship, even if they think they don't. It sounds like hell on paper, but when they get into it, they can do it a lot. So your new moon, seeing yourself in the eyes of another, you might reach a beautiful new stage of a relationship. You might get engaged, you might get married, you might decide to move in together, you might decide to call it official, you might decide that this relationship's not working, and then you might call in a new one. Not to make it sound disposable, because that's not what it is, but if you've come out of a series of toxic relationships and you've learned a lot, take what you've learned in order to manifest something new. It's not about replacing people. That's not your nature. It's also not good karma. This is about calling in healthy relationships. This is about improving relationships and being open to the perspective of another. It's also about choosing peace. It's also about how we react when things are tough in relationships, because that's who we really are. Do you listen to what your partner's saying? Do you stonewall them? Do you remain open to their side of things, their perspective and their input? Because that's important in a relationship. We have the Fool. Whole new beginning. Whole new chapter. A new adventure. A fun adventure. The decision to step into the unknown territory. Something you've never examined before. Of course. Of course. The Lovers. For a lot of you, this is new love. Enjoy it. Be open to it. For a lot of you, this is somebody very special. This is a new chapter in love, whatever it is, Leo. It's a new chapter in love. King of Cups. Could be with a water sign, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces, but at the very least, it's somebody that you're on an emotional level with. It's time to fall in love. It's time to inject a little bit more love into your life, a little bit more romance, a little bit more chemistry, to be open to these things, to invite them in, and to just allow yourself, even if you've been burned before, just allow yourself to fall in love, to be in love, to experience that one-on-one dynamic. Not, falling in love with someone who's available is what I want to say as well. Making sure that it's somebody who is on the same page as you. Inviting in truthful, honest relationships. Because with the tower underneath, what is built on shaky foundations is not going to work. And going back to somebody from the past, in particular, a fire sign, but not necessarily, going back to the past over and over and over again, this on and off stuff, it's beneath you. It's beneath you. What about a romance, a love that feels like it's from the heart, that feels honest, that feels emotionally mature, that feels emotionally compatible and has depth, but can still be a lot of fun? Because my experience is that Leo people value, more than anything else, someone who makes them laugh. Leo sun, Leo moon, Leo rising, someone that makes them laugh. And the Fool is that kind of energy, that kind of jester. Beautiful. Choose peace, choose love, and choose expansion. This Venus-Jupiter aspect is just going to enhance and expand your love life in ways that are unimaginable. But if that expansion means that things are falling apart, the chances are that needs to occur in order for something else to come in. Okay, so that is all I have for you, Leo. Have a really beautiful new moon. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, Virgo. Welcome to your new moon in Aquarius reading. So, Virgo, this is occurring in your 6th house of health, of well-being, of habit, and your day-to-day work. Your day-to-day routine. You have a big focus on your day-to-day routine. Work could be pretty busy. And it's important to make time for the things that keep you well. The things that keep you sane and the things that keep you grounded. Whether that's working out, whether that's eating a healthy diet, whether that is giving yourself the proper nutrition, whether that's giving yourself the proper time off, whether that is being in nature for a certain amount of time in a day. Time to iron out some unhealthy habits here. The 6th house and the devil go hand in hand for Virgos, because Virgos can oftentimes find themselves more susceptible than anybody else to issues surrounding the 6th house, whether it's eating issues, whether it's exercise issues. A lot of Virgos, in my experience, have suffered from body dysmorphia. And that's not to say that every Virgo is tarred with that brush. It's just that sometimes your habits can be so exaggerated by simply being a Virgo that they can go to extremes, they can go to unhealthy levels. Health can make you unhealthy. Too much of anything can make you sick, whether that is a completely clean diet or whether that is exercising for 2 hours a day. Sometimes the things that are marketed as health and well-being are not, And with the new moon, it's important to set these intentions, but also to have them in moderation, to have them in a way that is balanced and works with your schedule. There's a reason that Libra follows you in the zodiac. Libras get the need to balance because with your sign, they understand that too much of a good thing can be detrimental to your well-being. It's about balance. Maybe you need to make more time for some stuff that you feel you can indulge in, like an hour of watching Netflix, an hour of doing nothing, maybe a couple of days. Ooh, my battery. Maybe a couple of days of just being. Maybe not cleaning for a day. Anything like that, As much as it's the 6th house, it's a beautiful time to make healthy habits. Sometimes, Virgo, the healthiest habits are where you let go of the need to be perfect, the need to have everything in order. Okay, so as much as you can make the most of this new moon more than anybody else of sorting out your space, sorting out your diet, sorting out your pantry, your cupboard, whatever it is, I try to do the both sides of the ocean lingo in this because most of my viewers are actually in the States, so I try to do both. Inclusivity. And this is a beautiful time for you to make new changes to your health and your routine and your work life. Perhaps for some of you in your work schedule, it's to do with saying no more. I kind of feel with Virgo with the devil, there's something you're doing in excess that needs to be moderated. Ooh, yes you do. 6 of Pentacles, give and take. We also have the 5 of Wands and the Lovers, especially if your habits and schedule are disturbing your love life or your relationships. Likely because the clash with Taurus is your higher self. Your higher self is in a battle with your detail-oriented schedule. And that's because of Saturn, right? So Saturn is wanting you to restrict certain things in your life in terms of diet, in terms of health. And while that can be good in some instances, as I say, because it's in this power struggle with Uranus, and Uranus is in Taurus, Uranus is going to prevail in this war. And Uranus is in your 9th house of the higher self. So choosing wisdom, choosing your higher self and seeing the bigger picture rather than focusing on the little details is actually what's going to keep you at your most healthy and your optimum fitness or well-being or whatever it is. But choose well-being, don't make yourself suffer. The Devil and the 6 of Pentacles, just to me, is when you go to the extreme in some event. And I feel with the 5 of Wands and the Lovers, maybe it's because you're trying to impress somebody else that you really shouldn't be. Maybe some of you are in unhealthy relationships where you feel like you have to be perfect in order to keep the other person happy. If that's the case, exit. Don't contort yourself to make somebody else happy, because if they're not happy with you, who you are, you're with the wrong person. You do not have to contort yourself and twist yourself into these funky shapes in order to make other people happy. That goes for friendship, that goes for work, that goes for anything. Do not contort yourself to make somebody else happy. Boom. So make sure that you're setting healthier standards for yourself in terms of moderation. As well as that with the 6th house, because there's so much beautiful energy happening there with Venus and Jupiter, there is a delightful abundance of energy. And Jupiter in the 6th house, there's this misconception, and I see this with astrologers all the time, saying that Jupiter in the 6th can make people be portly, it can make them gain weight, it can make them be lazy even. It's just not true. Okay, let's not jump on this strange body shaming planetary activity. It's designed to, when Jupiter's in the 6th, the better you are to your body, the better you are to your health, and the more optimistic and joyous you are about it, the better your results. The more you give yourself problems, the more Jupiter will amplify them. Okay, that is quite simple. Making sure that you are working on maintaining a good relationship with your body and your habits, okay? And if you need external help or something with that, that is okay. Make sure that you're getting it. We did just have a full moon in your 12th house of the subconscious, so maybe some of you have started some kind of therapy, or some of you are working on letting go bit by bit of the need to please people. But the answer here as well is love. Loving yourself, loving others, and showing compassion, especially to your body and especially to your well-being, because Virgo, you're already good at everything else. Okay, so that is what I have for you. I will see you in the next video. Bye, Virgo. Hi Libra, welcome to your New Moon in Aquarius segment. Are you up for some good news? This new moon is falling in your 5th house of love, of pleasure, of romance, of creativity, and of fun. So, because Venus, your ruler, is conjunct Jupiter in this sector, you get double the good vibes, double the good feelings, double the romantic energy, the loving energy. Even if you're single, you're just going to have the easiest time with this new moon manifesting something into your life that gives you a lot of love, a lot of pleasure, and a lot of joy. So keep your focus there. Keep your focus this new moon on what makes you happy, not what makes you unhappy. Especially if you have some intimacy issues, because of Mars in Taurus being in your 8th house, which is jealousy, death of the ego. your relationships at the moment are undergoing a period of evaluation for you, where you're looking at some habits in your relationship life that you're not proud of, that you don't like, that come from a fear-based mentality, but you're going through them to transition them. So it is actually a good time to call in the new while you're going through this death of the ego. And it's going to serve your love life in general, whether you're committed or whether you're not. This is going to serve your love life in a way that's healthy. And it's worth noting as well that the squaring energy from Saturn here and Uranus in Uranus in Taurus, I'm actually combining words phonetically a lot with this Mercury in Aquarius retrograde saga, and I don't know why, but it's happening. So this square that's happening next week that we're building up to, you're finding with Uranus being in Taurus that it's revolutionizing the way that you operate on an intimate level, and it's operating differently for you because you're experiencing great change in your ego, especially when it comes to your relationships, because we had Mars there. And so the point of this is that Uranus is going to win out in the end. And that means that the changes that you're making to your intimate life are freeing you to love deeper, to connect deeper. And so with this new moon, it's a beautiful time in to call in love, knowing that you're going to be supported, or to inject more love into your romantic life as it is. It's also a time to be creative. Ooh. Okay. So we have for you the King of Wands, the Wheel of Fortune, and the Seven of Wands. Pretty fiery. And the 5th house is a fire house. So this, you could be dealing with a fire sign where there's a lot of friction, a lot of chemistry, a lot of tension, for better or worse. But there seems to be an interesting twist of fate going on with you, Libra, where you're either calling in someone who's very passionate, or you are conquering those defenses that we talked about, those fears, the things that keep you stuck and keep you lonely. You could be dealing with a fire sign. You could also be dealing with an earth sign, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. But what I'm seeing for you is that a lot of you are experiencing profound leveling up in your creative and romantic life, and you're learning to navigate your own defenses and your own blockages to those things, whether it's a creative block, whether it is a self-imposed restriction or some kind of rule that you have. You know, it's important to keep boundaries in relationships, but it's also important to notice if your boundaries themselves are actually you trying to keep people out. You know, there's a difference. There's very much a difference. And with the Wheel of Fortune, there's some very big changes happening to you. There's also some very lucky changes because your ruler Venus is connecting to Jupiter, which is the Wheel of Fortune. And so it's bringing you a lot of heat. It's bringing you a lot of passion, a lot of spark, a lot of fun-loving, excitable, passionate, driven energy. It's really lighting a fire for you. And I do feel like with the Seven of Wands, because of Mars transiting your 8th house and because of Uranus being there, you have experienced moments where you've really had your back up. You've really felt like you need to defend yourself, particularly in partnerships, but with anybody in general, because the 8th house is quite raw. It's quite transformative. And so you've felt like you needed to stick up for yourself at moments where maybe you didn't, or maybe you have had to stick up for yourself. But you're finding that this strength, Libra, this defensiveness is being gradually replaced by a feeling of love and a feeling of excitement and a lot of energy. This new moon is going to give you a lot of energy. So get those intentions down, have a bit of fun, don't take things so seriously, enrich your life with a bit of play, and you find that your fortune will magnify as a result. So that's all I have for you, Libra. Take care. Bye. Hi, Scorpio. Welcome to your new moon in Aquarius reading. So Scorpio, this is happening in your 4th house, which is to do with home, it's to do with privacy, it's to do with security. It's a lot to do with your lineage, your ancestry, and where you come from, and what has shaped you. So what has shaped you, do you think? Where do you think a lot of your loving energies, how you love, how you communicate, how you dance with life, where do you think a lot of that has been shaped by your earliest years, by your parents, by your experiences there. You're maybe a little bit more thoughtful about it. You're maybe thinking a little bit more about the past. And I mean the past. I mean where you come from. A lot of people that have trouble with their families oftentimes overlook the fact that the gifts they themselves possess have usually been passed down in the bloodline. And that in itself is a very healing realization that so many of the wonderful parts of you, the talents that you have, come from a bloodline, even if there has been friction and disturbance. And if there's not been friction and disturbance, this is a beautiful time as well to reconnect with your family, to spend a bit more time with them, to communicate, to really be present, not on your phone, not just spending an hour to checking in and saying, what's new, what's going on, really connecting, asking your parents questions about their upbringing. Judgment. Exactly. Looking at the past. Letting some experiences, some past memories emerge so that you can make sense of them, heal them, or call time on a behavioral pattern that is not serving you anymore, that is keeping you stuck. I think for a lot of Scorpios, especially Scorpio rising, your family is a big focus. What makes you feel secure, what makes you feel safe is a big focus. And it's time with this new moon to shift your focus a little bit, to heal the past, to heal your relationship with the past, to make sense of who you have been and how you were raised, or what has shaped you to be the person that you are, and to be proud of it, but also to focus on the things that it has granted you. And in terms of, even if it's not just your family, if it's to do with your first relationships, if it's to do with painful experiences in the past, Scorpio, this is about making peace with it so that you can focus on the love that's in your life now, on the relationships that's in your life now, and how you want to be a better person for them. Or if it's a future relationship, how you want to be better there. There is a process with this new moon, and this was similar for Cancer, but there's a process with this new moon of letting go a little bit of the old, letting go a little bit of some feelings, some residue, in order to make peace with it, to be completely open to the future, or to be more open to the future. There is a process here, Scorpio, where there's some unseen parts of yourself, some things that you keep so private, so hidden, that you truly, I think, do want to share with other people in order to connect to other people, but that you keep so private, so hidden, that sometimes you forget it's there. I think every Scorpio has something in their home, in their belongings, that is locked. I do. I have a safe and it's not full of money. It's full of journals from whenever I was younger, and throughout my life, things that I've written, things that are very personal. Every Scorpio has secrets. Every Scorpio has, or should have, a locked box. And sometimes, Scorpio, you carry that metaphorically. Sometimes you need to open it up, see what's in there in order to progress from it. Taking a little bit of an inventory over who you have been and how it's shaped the love that you give and the love that you receive, and making a bit of a change there. Allowing some things to come to light just so that you can set them free. Because oftentimes when the sun is in a very intimate side of the sky, when it's in a water house, when it's in the 4th, the 12th, or the 8th, when the sun is coasting through there, it shines a light on some of the stuff that you do keep hidden, some of the stuff that's gathered a shadow. And shining a light on there for many Scorpios can feel uncomfortable at points. Yes, it can feel tricky. It can feel triggering to have those conversations with your family or with your significant other. It can feel hard to open up, but it's important. And this new moon is saying to you, Scorpio, how would you like to be with your family now? How would you like to progress in your intimate relationships now? What would you like to manifest in your life to feel safe? And on a more mundane level, how do you want your space to look? How do you want your bedroom, your home, your decor? How do you want it to represent who you are now? Do you feel happy in your space? Do you feel energized? Or do you feel like there's toxic energy? Do you feel like there's clutter? Do you feel like you've outgrown your surroundings? It's the perfect month to make those changes. But for a lot of Scorpios, I feel like you are pulling up some old stuff in order to make way for something new and to connect more deeply in your relationships. You know, Uranus and Taurus clashing with Saturn, it's not to say that your past has gotten in the way of your romantic relationships, but it can certainly keep part of you back. And Uranus wins in this conversation, Uranus being in your partnership sector. It's time to open up to love. It's time to open up to letting somebody else in and letting them surprise you for better rather than for worse. Sound good? Also, underneath we have the Ace of Pentacles and the Ace of Cups. So for a lot of Scorpios, this can be a new relationship on the card, a new job that you love. There's some new manifestation coming around this new moon in Aquarius that you're going to like. That Jupiter-Venus conjunction is possibly granting you a wish from childhood, or it's possibly granting you something new in order for you to heal something old. I like it a lot. So Scorpios, that is all I have for you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye. Hi Sagittarius, welcome to your new moon in Aquarius video. So the new moon in Aquarius for you rules communication, it rules siblings, it rules neighbors, and it rules short journeys. So journeys by car, basically. The new moon in Aquarius could mean multiple things for you because it's quite open to interpretation. It's to do with information, it's to do with facts, and it's to do with what we know to be true. So for you, this could be to do with your relationship with siblings. It could be to do with your relationship with your neighbors, people that are in close proximity to you. And it might also be to do with your car or your modes of transportation. There could be some new energy there. With Mercury retrograde, there could be some issues there, but you know, it's about making a new start in these areas based on what you've revised with Mercury in retrograde. But because it's coming into a bit of a clash with your day-to-day routine, based on Saturn and Uranus being in a quite tense conversation, you could be experiencing some issues with your short journeys, with your siblings, with your neighbors, etc., in terms of how you do your day-to-day work, how you go about your routine. So this could manifest as car trouble. This could manifest as miscommunication with siblings. This could manifest as troubling conversations or mixed messages with co-workers or your routine, your day-to-day work. With Judgment here, you're getting some information based on this new moon that is important and has a lot of clarity. It's giving you a lot of truth. There's a lot of truth manifesting for you around this new moon, Sagittarius. Conversations that are needed, open dialogues that are required, and you might learn something that is important. Actually, now that I'm speaking, I find my throat chakra feels a bit funny. You could be experiencing an opening of the throat chakra. You could suddenly find that you're saying things that you've held back for a long time. You suddenly find that your words have more meaning. I feel like there's a lot of opening conversations in the third house with co-workers and neighbors and siblings and that type of thing. But your conversations in general and how you work with other people and how those conversations serve you. You could be learning some interesting facts or figuring out where you stand with people in those areas, whether it's siblings, whether it's neighbors, whether it's co-workers. You could be receiving news about these people. You could be receiving news about your neighbors. Your neighbors could end up on the news. Let me know if that happens. But with this energy, it's all about having very clear conversations and drawing boundaries and setting parameters and figuring out what it will take to keep conversations and the channels of communication open, how to keep an open dialogue, and how you go about asking for what you need and how you go about asking for what you would like. There is so much happening in the third house, Sagittarius, that you could be experiencing many conversations. I do think for a lot of you as well, based on the Mercury retrograde, you could be hearing from somebody from the past. You could be hearing from somebody that you used to know. It could be someone you used to work with, someone you used to be friends with, someone you used to spend a lot of time with, someone that you were trying to build something together. So it could have been an old partnership, but I think for a lot of you there is a voice from the past coming forward to give you some kind of clarity. But I also feel in your relationships in general, there is a sense of clarity. There's a sense of new information and old information at the same time. So there is a lot of openings for you to have these type of conversations and instigate these type of conversations if there's something that you really need to say or get off your chest. Maybe with a Capricorn, because we have the devil underneath, or you may find that you have been holding back, or that somebody or a certain relationship or a certain dynamic is stopping you from speaking your truth, and you're really getting to terms with why you've had trouble expressing yourself in some area, or why you've had trouble putting your point of view across. And if you feel, Sagittarius, like you're constantly stifled or shut down by people in your life, that seems to me to be an indication that you need to take some space from these people, because you should feel free to speak your mind and speak your truth, provided you're not intentionally hurting anybody. But I don't think that's a Sagittarius thing. It's not really a Sagittarius thing to want to hurt somebody else through your words. I think that it's more based on a place of the higher perspectives that you're experiencing at the time, your bird's eye view, as it were. And some people can find that if you put forward your bird's eye view, it can seem very blunt to those in the ground that are sort of seeking what's directly in front of them. And because this is that seeking directly what's in front of you energy, you might find this quite balancing, Sagittarius, and that actually you can see things from other people's point of view a little more easily. And you can see things from their perspective and their vantage point, rather than, always seeing the bigger picture, because it can be lonely up there, I'm sure, seeing everything from a higher perspective all the time. Sometimes it's important to seek what's directly in front of you, especially if it's to do with your dynamics at the moment and the way that your communication is going. So it's a good point to check in and figure out what you want your communication style to be. If you would like to write a book, if you would like to do a speech, if you would like to be on the internet, whatever it is, people will naturally want to hear your voice, and those that don't, I think you could do with taking a bit of space from. Hi Capricorn, welcome to your new moon in Aquarius segment. So Capricorn, this is falling in your sector of value, of possessions, of what matters to you, what is worth it, really, is what's happening with this new moon. You're setting intentions for more money. You're setting intentions for more property, more possession, more things that you can claim, something you can claim, something you can call your own. But what about the qualities you possess? Because possessions aren't always what's outside of ourselves. Sometimes they're about what's internally going on. And at the moment, you've so much in the sky in your second house. And I think for you, this is a very important check-in point of what matters the most to you and what you already have. Gratitude is typically about looking at what you already have. In fact, minimalism isn't about throwing everything out, but it's about showing gratitude and appreciating what you already have rather than what you don't. And that's when your mindset becomes richer. So don't fall into the trap with this new moon of thinking you need to manifest items or money. You don't. If that's not what your heart is calling you for, then that's fine. If you want to use this new moon to take a moment to be very grateful, then that's a very abundant mindset that will actually set you. Obviously, the strangeness of that is that needing nothing attracts everything. And I think as well with the second house, justice, I like it. With the second house, there is an onus on our self-worth, self-value, what we appreciate about ourselves, and how much we sell ourselves. Because sometimes people end up in relationships, in jobs where they're selling themselves short and they're not seeing their value. And this is a beautiful time for you to make the decision that you're not going to do that if you are already. 5 of Swords, don't sell yourself short. Especially if you're contractually selling yourself short. If you're being manipulated by a contract, for example. If you are experiencing an opportunity that involves a contract, read the fine print. Really be careful with that. You don't want to start a new journey full of optimism and carefree at the expense of the truth and at the expense of your own growth, especially creatively. So, Justice, the 5 of Swords, and the 7 of Pentacles. If you've been waiting for a long time for somebody to get comeuppance for what they've done, this new moon is the beginning of that. Someone who hurt you karmically or something to turn around karmically. I think there's probably going to be news that makes you feel pretty content, if that's what you're looking for. But again, for a lot of you, make sure that you're entering contracts that really appreciate you and allow you to grow. That's kind of the main thing about this, Capricorn, is that you want to make sure that these new intentions and these new beginnings that you're stepping into will allow you to be yourself and will value the unique qualities and talents and skill set that you possess, rather than pitting you against everybody else and just making you scramble for power. That's not really dignified, and that's not really your energy. So with this, there needs to be a security with you that something can grow, and that can be in love as well. You need to know that where you are right now is capable of growth and is capable of expansion, and that you're going to be supported in your growth and your development. Capricorns in anything, and I understand this because I have a Capricorn stellium in my chart. Capricorns in anything where they feel it's not growing, or they don't see any more opportunities within it, that's typically when you know it's time to cut loose. You know, when there's no more room for improvement, there's no more room for growth, that's when you can kind of cut ties. And I think some of you are deciding to do that with this new moon. But for a lot of you, because this is a new moon in the second house, what I want to say is this. In terms of the witchy aspect of things, if you are looking to manifest more money, that's a good intention to set. If you want to get a raise, that's a really good time to set that intention. Why? Because Venus and Jupiter are conjunct in your sector of material resources and your income. And so if you want to manifest a raise, do it. If you want to manifest more money, do it. If it means that you have to go back to the drawing board and sort of get into those abundance mindset courses or whatever it is, do it. But this is a new moon to set your intentions financially. I actually remember, I was speaking about this recently. I remember the first time that I set a financial intention with a new moon. I didn't want to start with anything too grand, because it was, you know, when you're starting these things off, you don't typically. And I think I wrote a certain number, as in I intend that I receive such and such and such a number. And I made it really specific. I made it to a penny, right? It was down to a penny. And that specific amount of money that I intended on the new moon in my second house, it was Taurus. 6 months later, around the full moon in Taurus, I got a tax rebate of that exact same amount to the penny. So as much as I'm saying, you know, if you're beginning this, it's sometimes better to start a little bit smaller. It's okay. It's okay to round it up. It's okay to round it up a little bit higher. Because with you guys, because of Jupiter being in the mix and Venus, it's likely that if you want to manifest money, you can manifest big money. You know, especially Capricorn rising, especially if this Aquarius new moon falls in your second house, you can manifest big money. And usually from good sources too. So that is something to bear in mind. Or if there's an item or a designer, maybe it's a designer bag or something you're after, if you want to manifest that, put it on your vision board around this new moon. You have an insane ability to manifest money and manifest value. But as I said before, what I am saying is that, you know, take the other end of this. If you want to enhance a talent you already possess, or you want to invest in something that requires talents that you already have, you know, do yourself justice. Okay, do yourself justice. Make sure that you are taking stock of the amazing qualities and the amazing talents that you do possess as a person, because it is important to your growth and it is important to expansion, to appreciate where we are. It's very rare that people can just jump from 0 to 100 with no appreciation, because even if they did, they lose it all very quickly because they don't have that sense of value. And they're not sure what they value. They think what they value is something material, but it rarely is. So that is what I have for you, Capricorn. Have a wonderful new moon, and I'll take care. Take care. I keep saying I'll take care. I will, but you take care too. Bye.